Hello and welcome to this Flags in Focus podcast. With me is the irreplaceable Joey B. Say hello, Joey.
Hello.
And of course, you, my good self, Tariff Mr. P. I'm here with you hosting, well, I'm obviously just hosting Joey, to be fair. Anyway, we're here talking about all the flags that are to do with the countries that end with Stan. So we'll explain what those are in a moment. But anyway, just to start off with and to position all the Stan for Afghanistan, Pakistan, Uzbekistan. The Stan is a Persian suffix which means land. So with all these countries, it usually means the land of Uzbeks for Uzbekistan, or the land of Turks for Turkmenistan, not to obviously be confused with Turkey or Turkey, because that's a whole different country with a whole different group of people, which we won't go into in this particular episode. Anyway, so we'll go through the 8 Stan flags that we've got precariously displayed behind us. Joey's is obviously far neater than mine, and mine are ironed, but obviously refuse to even look like I've even bothered.
Are you sure?
Well, they are, trust me. But the flag layer won't let me hang them neatly like your display. So as your display is so neat, Joe, we'll start with you. So you can kick off our first of our 8 flags that we'll be looking at today.
All right. Thank you. I will go in alphabetical order and start with the flag of Afghanistan. Um, for anybody who's being technical, no, this is not the Taliban flag of Afghanistan. I am going with the actual flag of Afghanistan and not the black and white monstrosity that we've seen from the Taliban. Afghanistan's flag has changed probably more than any other flag, national flag in history. It's had, I believe, 21 or 22 changes, including the Taliban flag. The version that you see over my shoulder here had been flying since 2004 and was in use longer than any other Afghan flag during the last century, and was the 4th longest tenure of any flag in Afghanistan's history. You can see that it is a tricolor consisting of black, red, and green vertical bars. The first Afghan flag to feature these colors was a horizontal triband in 1928, and it was inspired by Germany's flag when the king of Afghanistan, because it was a monarchy at the time, visited Germany and was impressed with their flag and decided to bring elements of that over into the Afghan flag. The horizontal stripes flipped vertical the next year, and they've tended to alternate between vertical and horizontal ever since. The symbol in the middle of Afghanistan's flag is a mosque. It's flanked by wheat on each side, and it's topped by the Shahada, which is the Muslim creed, and the rays of the rising sun. The Eastern Arabic numerals for the solar year of 1298 appear at the bottom. The solar year 1298 is the equivalent of 1919 in the Gregorian calendar, and that was the year of Afghanistan's independence from the United Kingdom. There are different versions of this flag where the field of wheat can be bigger and go onto the green and to the black bars. That's not the version I have, obviously. I like this one a little bit better, so that's the version that I have. I actually have a really funny story about the Afghan flag that happened back in 2016. I used to work for a company in Washington, D.C., and would commute from the Philadelphia area to Washington, D.C. every week for an absolutely miserable job working for a miserable asshole. So, John, if you're watching this, f you. When I was on my way back to Union Station, the train station, to come home, my Uber driver was pretty quiet, and I either tend to be very quiet as well, or I like to have some sort of a conversation going just to, pass the time because you were sitting in traffic. And my driver's name was Ali, and I just asked him where he was from. And he got a little apprehensive from what I could tell, and he was looking at me in the rearview mirror, and he kind of sheepishly said, Afghanistan. And I said, oh, you guys have a really cool flag. And as soon as I said that, like, his eyes lit up, his personality came out, and he's like, yes, cool colors on our flag. And he just started talking about his life, prior to coming to the US, in the US, Afghan food. It was really, really cool. my favorite part of the story was when we were getting closer to Union Station, there was a blonde woman who was in front of us driving rather slowly below the speed limit, talking on her phone and twirling her hair around her finger. And he was frustrated because he knew I had a train to catch. I was frustrated because she was annoying. And he just said, I am Afghan Uber, and slammed on the gas. And I went flying back in the seat. G forces were like peeling my face back. And he just like zoomed around her, improperly, probably, the way he did it, but it was hysterical, and it reminded me of taking cab rides in Saudi Arabia. She was mortified. I was thrilled because it was hysterical, and he got me to my train on time. So I do have a little bit of an affinity for the Afghan flag. After he dropped me off at Union Station, before I caught my train, I went to the Alamo flag kiosk that they had in Union Station at the time, and I got a little flag pin of Afghanistan to commemorate my Afghan Uber ride to Union Station. So I have fond memories associated with this flag just because of my Uber driver. So Ali, if you ever happen to see this, you're awesome.
A massive shout out to Ali, the taxi driver. Brilliant stuff. I love that story. I think that's fantastic. It's great how you remember these from a flag world anyway. It's good to be able to have little stories like that in your back pocket. I love that.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, so the Afghan flag. So as you know, the flag is as much as I like it, it is just a little bit too busy. That whole middle piece
Sure.
is just a little bit too detailed. And do I spy that they've actually got the Afghan flag, two of them, on the Afghan flag
Yes.
itself? Is that yes, right, okay. So
So
just
it's
in
like
case you
like
didn't.
Olivia.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you see, that's what does it with me, is it's just too busy. I mean, it's bold from a tricolor perspective. Um, and out of the flags that we're covering today, this is the only one that's got a black on it, which is big and stands out and bold. But yeah, it's just that centerpiece. And as you mentioned earlier, previous versions have actually been bigger than this. It's been more in your face, and just probably looks even more busy to me. So that's why I get a bit. However, so saying that, go with their official internal national flag that they use. This is obviously far better. And I'd much rather see what you've got there flying anywhere than the monstrosity that is the Taliban, which is obviously just the plain white with a Shahada through it, trying to be a Saudi flag and failing miserably as well on that one. I've probably just caused a load of issues on that one. Anyway, I still think this is a far better flag.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I think we see this around the world flying more than any of the Taliban version of it. So on that respect, I like it. And then I don't like it because it's too busy because of the middle. Take the middle bit out or make it so much more simpler, then I'd love it.
So I would almost think that you would forgive the busyness of the middle because it's got the pan-Arab color palette, and you love that.
I do, but I think it's because of the contrast of the pan Arab colors. I think they do work very well. So for me, yeah, this one, and it's got all of them because obviously the white as well as the red, green, and black. Why has it got a date written on it? I mean, seriously, it's just.
Because the date they broke away from you people.
Yeah, I know, and good luck to them on that one. But yeah, so we're going to American state flags where they have to not only write what bloody state it is, but they have to write what friggin' year they became an independent. Anyway, that's a whole different rabbit hole I am not going to go down. But that aside, it's a good flag. Semi sort of agree on that one. Before we move on to my first flag, do you just want to, and I just need to pick this up. Do you just want to explain your t-shirt?
Sure. So when Tareth asked me if I wanted to do a podcast on the Stan flags, I said, sure, why not? I'm a huge fan of the Golden Girls. One of the recurring characters on there was a man named Stan, who was Dorothy's ex-husband. Every time he knocked on the door and they opened it, he said, "Hi, it's me, Stan." So that's why I have this on my shirt. It's his big bald head saying, "Hi, it's me, Stan," for the Stan flags.
Thank you. And anybody under the age of 45 will not have a clue what you're talking about.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. This is a show that transcends generations. Everybody knows it.
Everyone knows your name. No, that's a whole different show.
That's a whole other one.
Okay.
They know the
We're
theme,
gonna
maybe not the show, but they know the theme.
yes. Right. We massively digressed again. Thank you for that. I just thought we needed to point that one out. So now we've got the idea of the stand. Right. Anyway, okay. From one stand to another. So I should start with my first stand, which is Pakistan, which is over here in big and bold. So Pakistan's flag was officiated. It wasn't designed, it was officiated on the 11th of August 1947, which was 3 days before they became independent. Of course, they when they broke away from the British rule, when they became the Dominion of Pakistan, before changing to the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, as they are now. Its designer is Amruddin Khidawi, who based the Pakistan flag on the All India Muslim League flag, which, if you can picture the Pakistan flag, it's pretty much the same flag, but without the white stripe at the hoist. And that's your All Indian Muslim League flag, which I think is still a thing today. The colours are fairly dare I say, bog standard, but that's like, you could never say that about a country. But anyway, their colours are green for Islam, which we'll probably touch on that maybe once or twice again in this episode. White, the white stripe on the hoist covers all other religions, just to be all encompassing. And the crescent and star, of course, is another symbol for Islam. The moon is for progress. The star is for light. And it has the average 3:2 ratio as well. One of the points is specifically one of the laws surrounding this flag, of which there are many, a bit like the American flag. So apart from not touching the ground, can't get it dirty, etc., you can never display it vertically legally. So I am technically breaking the law in Pakistan, so I apologize profusely. Yes, quite. So and when I've done some research on what the vertical flag looks like, I've come up with both versions. So one of them is where they twist the star and the moon round, so they still show as they are on the horizontal version, which I quite like that one. And the other version is it's the same as the horizontal, but it's just squashed all together, so you've still got that white stripe on the hoist side as well. So basically it's the same as it should be, so not like this. So yes, I am terribly bad at that at the moment. So back in the 40s, just to finish off on this one then, so when they were coming up with designs of flags, of which one to choose from, Mountbatten, who put a number of proposals of flags, including India. He proposed a horrifically awful design for India, version of what India should adopt as their national flag, but that's different. We're talking about Pakistan, so obviously he had his say in that. And his version is very similar to this. However, instead of the white stripe, it was all green, and he decided to put the Union Jack in the canton as well, which is an oxymoron, and I'll use that word on purpose with the word moron in it, because obviously with the Union Jack, Union flag, there's a whole video that I've done about what the name officially is. Anyway, but obviously it's made up of all the Christian symbols of the cross, for St. George's Cross, St. Patrick's Cross, etc., stuck on a flag with Islamic symbols. How he thought that was ever going to work, I don't know. Thankfully, that was shunned right at the beginning, and they've come up with something that's far more relatable to them. Anyway, that's Pakistan.
What I really like about that flag, especially seeing it next to the other flags behind you, because there's a lot of green going on behind you. That particular shade of green, it's very regal in Pakistan's
Yes.
flag, the darker shade of green. It's not the highlighter green that I'm seeing on Tajikistan or any of the other medium shades of green. It's not very dark, but it's a dark, regal, royal almost green.
Ooh, yes.
And I wouldn't think I would normally like having a white stripe and then the rest of the flag is kind of segregated from it. But I don't think Pakistan's flag would work as well if it was solid green with the moon and the star. The white stripe breaks it up in a weird way that actually works, and I think it actually calls more attention to the moon and the star because you've
Mm.
got this other white that kind of
Break it up.
matches it. And it's a very simply designed flag, but all the elements are bold because of the color contrast, and I do like it very much.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and I think, yeah, and especially with the, as you say, the shade of green, I think is spot on. Absolutely, it just finishes it off perfectly. I think, yeah, if you're right, if it was some of the lighter greens, I know this isn't a stand flag anyway, but a green like this just would not. We'd be having a different conversation if this was the green on
Yeah.
the Pakistan flag. It would still be agreeing, but it wouldn't be that we agree with the flag as it is. So yeah, I totally agree. It's almost sort of a strong, bold statement type of color green. Um,
Yes.
I almost want to say British racing green, but that's, I will apologize now for even thinking that that's a good term to use, but because it's not, I've just got minis in my head now.
Yeah, if it was Guyana green, we would have some issues, but it's not.
Completely.
All right. On to my next flag, and I want to do a little experiment before we go into the flag. So, the flag we just talked about that you did, what's its name again? The name of the country?
Pakistan,
Yep. What's
yes.
the name of this country?
Afghanistan,
This country?
Uzbekistan,
This country.
Kazakhstan.
See, you said Kazakhstan, and I say Kazakhstan, and I don't know why. It's the only one where I say Kazakhstan, and I know a lot of people who do it as well. So,
Okay.
Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan. And I was curious as to how you were going to say it because I've never paid attention before to you or Dave or Tracy how you guys say it, but I say Stan instead of Stan, and I don't know why we have done that here, or if that's uniquely American, or if it's a universal thing. So, anybody who's watching this, feel free and comment and tell us how you pronounce the flag of Kazakhstan, and let us know. So,
I don't know
very
how you're
curious.
going to write the difference of pronunciation on that, but give it a go. Just stick an R in it, I suppose.
Stan like on the shirt,
Yes.
or Stan.
Stan with an R.
Stahn, Stan.
Or an
So
R.
the flag of Kazakhstan was adopted on June 4th, 1992. I'll move over so you can see it. It features a golden sun with 32 rays. I think it looks like it's crushing the golden steppe eagle. It's a cool design, but still, to me, it looks like, it's Atlas supporting the weight of the world. It's the steppe eagle supporting the weight of the sun. Golden ornamental pattern up there, known as the Koshkar Muiz, and I'm sure I butchered that, so please forgive me. Translated, it means horns of the ram. The blue and the gold that you see in the Kazakh flag are identical to the blue and the gold that were in the flag of the Kazakh SSR when it was under the dominion of the Soviet Union. They kept those two colors but ditched the red. The blue is a religiously significant color of the Turkic people of Kazakhstan. It symbolizes ethnic and cultural unity as well as peace. And practically speaking, it represents water and the sky. The sun represents energy, and its rays are shaped like grains, which stand for abundance and prosperity, while the eagle, although it looks like it's being crushed, represents power and freedom. I do have an acquaintance named Alex who is from Kazakhstan. He was born in what was then the Soviet Union, but is from Kazakhstan. And I remember many, many, many years ago talking about the flag, and he just got really irate and said, "Oh, that flag is stupid. I hate that flag. It doesn't mean anything." So I don't know who was consulted, if anyone was consulted, if one person just randomly came up with the elements of the Kazakh flag. But I know one person from the country who was not too terribly thrilled with it when it came up, and I don't know if he had an affinity for the SSR flag or he just thought that there was a better representation of it. So if anybody is from Kazakhstan or has ties to Kazakhstan,
Mm.
Stan, and you are watching this, feel free and comment and let us know what you think of the flag because I'm curious if other folks from that country had Alex's point of view.
I disagree with him because I think it's a beautiful flag, but then I'm not from the country, so what right do I have? But I love it. One of the things I absolutely love about this not only is the color tone between the two, because the blue and the yellow I think really work. It's two really strong colors that work well together. But the design of the sun, I think, is spot on this. I absolutely love it. Um, it's a very simplistic style and design of it, which is probably why I absolutely love it. And the eagle as well. It's just there. So it's coming towards you. I think it's to be as bold as an eagle in a flight like that is great. I prefer the eagle in flight like this versus the eagle that sits on the Mexican flag, for example, because this one really shows, I don't know, well, it's in flight, obviously, as opposed to trying to fight off an evil snake. But anyway, and so I love that whole piece. And then the hoist side of it as well with what's it called again? The pattern on the hoist.
It is bear with me. You're going to make me pronounce this in the
Yeah,
Koshkar Muiz.
there you go. I only did it to expect you to say it again.
You did that on purpose.
So and I love that. And while it's busy, I think because it's just a two-tone color with the blue and the yellow, I can live with it. I can live with busy because it's yeah. There's only the two colors on those flags, and they're really strong.
What I like about the eagle is that it's not completely filled in. It's not quite an outline. It's not quite filled in, but it's the same shade as the rest of the flag. And my lighting doesn't do that blue justice. When I'm flying it, or when I've been like to downtown Philadelphia and I've seen the flag at the embassy flying, it's almost a magical shimmery blue, sky blue.
Yeah.
It's absolutely iridescent almost. It's gorgeous. And like I said, the lighting here for whatever reason is just not doing it justice, but it really is a cool set of colors.
No, I agree. It is a lovely blue. And when I had a day trip to Turkmenistan, as you do, of course, when you're in that part of the world, um, and they had an absolute huge version of this flag flying on top of the hill overlooking the local town that we were visiting. And it was a beautiful sight, and thankfully I managed to film it, of course, and chatting to our lovely guide at the time about it. Um, and she took us up there. I don't think it was part of the tour, but she managed to take us up to this park area, which is what I really wanted to do. The rest of the town I didn't care about. I wanted to see the flag. And the flagpole, they designed the flagpole in such a way that had all these holes and twists and turns in it. So with the wind, it whistled constantly, this flagpole, which is a beautiful thing. I mean,
So
I can
cool.
imagine it getting quite irritating after a while. However, it wasn't just a constant hum din of the same note. It was lots of different notes of playing. It was beautiful. I loved it. I've never heard anything quite so haunting. But I don't think any other flag has quite that
Yeah.
powerful blue that it's got. And I think it's great. And I think Palau has got a lot to learn when it looks at this flag and realizes just what it could do and what Palau has actually achieved. So yes, top marks for Kazakhstan on that one.
Two flags, it's like showing up to the prom in the same dress, but one of them is much more well designed than the other one.
Absolutely, yeah. The other one just took two
Or
minutes.
or Palau.
Yes. Anyway, before we start dissing Palau too much, I think we ought to move on to Turkmenistan, which is sitting scrumpled here just over my left shoulder. Um, so the Turkmenistan gained its independence on the 27th of October 1991 from the USSR, as it was slowly disintegrating and falling apart. They didn't have this flag ready in time, but it did come into play on the 19th of February 92, so just a few months later, the following year, where they had almost the same flag as what they have today up and running. The vertical stripe, although it's going horizontal in this one because it's hanging down, but obviously anyway, the vertical stripe next to the hoist is called is the Bordeaux red, is the main color that sits behind it, which is quite ironic for a dry country because obviously it's named after the color of the wine. Anyway, and in the design of this hoist here and the Bordeaux red line, you've got five carpet gulls or motifs as they are that represent the five main groups of people or tribes within the country, which are from top to bottom are the Teki, the Yomut, the Sarik, the Chowder, and the Asari people. Again, the green is to represent Islam, the white is for faith and bright futures, and then in the top corner, almost in the hoist area, just next to the red line, there is the crescent sun. Sorry, crescent moon. It's crescent sun, crescent moon with 5 stars, and the 5 stars are to represent the 5 senses, and then the 5 points of each star represent a different state of matter, meaning liquids, solid, gas, crystal, and plasma. So you got that there. On its 5th birthday, the 19th of February 1997, the flag was amended ever so slightly, where they added a golden olive wreath similar to that appearing on the UN flag. It was added at the bottom of the Bordeaux stripe, as you'll see. And it's supposed to represent the neutrality in international relations that Turkmenistan has. And on various different vexillological votes, this flag is probably voted the most difficult national flag to draw from memory. And you can see why.
Many, many, many years ago, when I started writing a column, it was on my Facebook wall, not an actual column, called Friday's Flag, where I would do a different national flag every Friday. The fourth one I did was Turkmenistan, and I did it because I called it the magic carpet. I'm like, so if you're, if you long for Aladdin and you can't watch it, just look at the flag of Turkmenistan because you can, it's your magic carpet ride. And I think that was kind of the running joke in Flag Session when Tracy and Dave would always mention it as the magic carpet flag. It's actually kind of grown on me over the years as time has gone on. It's not a horrible flag. To your point, it's incredibly difficult to replicate if you're trying to draw it because of that pattern that's going down the hoist. It does have a certain elegance to it. A little more complicated than I would normally probably like in a flag, but I don't dislike it at all. I think it's nice.
Yeah, I do. I mean,
It's no Pakistan, but it's nice.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you know me again. It's horrifically busy, and that's what gets me on this again. A bit like the Afghanistan. It's that whole motif on the Bordeaux line, the Bordeaux border, is just ridiculous. But I get why they do it. It's obviously a representation of their history, their culture, and to be fair, it's very ornate and beautiful, and also to give it kudos as well, even from a distance. All right, you can't tell the detail, but you still know what flag it is. So I don't think it takes away the puzzlement of around what flag is that, because you can still tell which flag it is. You just can't see the carpet detail on it. So for that's probably for slightly different reasons. I like it as well on this one, but close up, if anything, actually close up, I probably start to dislike it. Whereas from a distance, when it's up a flagpole flying, I think it looks quite majestic and beautiful. I know the majority of it is just a plain green flag, and we're touching on historical Libyan flags at that point. But anyway, I think this still looks pretty good when it's hoisted up there and flapping in the wind.
That I will go to the flag of one of the countries that's probably the hardest to pronounce and only has like one true vowel in it, Kyrgyzstan. I'll move over so you can see it. So Kyrgyzstan's flag is a bright red flag featuring a golden sun, which contains a depiction of the tunduk. The tunduk is the opening in the center of the roof of a traditional hut called a yurt, which is used by nomads in the mountains and steppes of Inner Asia. The image that you see is if you were standing in the center of the yurt looking skyward through the roof, that's what you would see. So I think that that's actually really cool. I've heard it referred to by several different people as the Xbox flag because it looks very similar to the Xbox logo. So, I'm pretty sure Bill Gates owes the Kyrgyzstan government some royalties for, usurping their cultural heritage for the Xbox logo. That's my take anyway. I can afford it. Yeah, anybody who is familiar with this flag will notice that this is not the current version of the flag. This is the former version of the flag. The lines in the sun are wavy. It was changed a couple of years ago by the Kyrgyz parliament to reflect straight lines instead of wavy lines. The rationale behind that was that politicians in Kyrgyzstan thought that the sun looked a little too much like a sunflower, which they considered fickle. And they thought that the sunflower and the fickle connotation represented a servile person who was willing to switch allegiances, for his or her own personal gain. So they decided to change the rays of the sun to be straight instead, to look more like a sun instead of a sunflower. I'm sure anybody in Kansas would probably disagree because they have sunflowers over everything in Kansas. I actually like the sunflower looking version better than the one that they currently have. What they currently have now is not bad at all, but it reminds me of this very 70s clock that my family had growing up, which looked exactly like the sun on the Kyrgyz flag right now, only obviously a different color. It was wood paneling instead of gold, but the design is exactly the same. So that's all I see now when I look at that particular flag as opposed to this. And they've also added in one additional stripe in the yurt. So when you look at the updated flag, it's got 4 stripes in each direction instead of 3. I do
Yeah.
like the color scheme, and this is personal for me. It's the colors of my alma mater, so Fight On Trojans. Um, I I don't I don't necessarily care for, other red and gold flags like, Vietnam or China. I don't know why. They're fine in design, but there's something about the Kyrgyz flag that I really like.
On that point, I think the middle part, the sun, should be bigger because they've got plenty of room at the top and bottom of their flag to make that even. It doesn't need to be quite so small. Use the whole space. I remember at school when they go, use the whole page. So
Exactly.
that would be my feedback on that. But I also agree with you that the version that you've got to me is a far more superior version than the current national official flag. And I read recently that a lot of the locals still fly the version that you've got, and indeed I've got it somewhere back here, because they prefer it and they didn't want to change it in the first place. They were quite happy with it. As far as they were concerned, it wasn't broken, so it didn't need fixing. But as for the reasons that you've already outlined, obviously the powers that be decided otherwise. I had a look to see if I could find online to buy this flag, the updated, the current version, and I cannot find it anywhere. I can buy this, the version new you've got, in abundance, but the new version, no, not without going to somebody like Mr. Flag going, can you print this for me? Which sort of defeats the object. I can't find a version. Unless I've not looked hard enough. I don't know. Maybe someone can give me a link. To be fair, that's saying that.
This one's
I still
better.
prefer this version. Yeah, exactly. It's just much better. There's something about the rays of the sun that not touching it, or yeah, they're all separate now, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little, I guess maybe the sun's a little more rigid now.
Mm, yeah.
Normally rigid's a good thing, but for that design, no.
No, this is it. Which is strange because I liked, to be fair, going back to Kazakhstan and how those suns raised, they're all very straight. And to be fair, if we're looking at suns on flags, Namibia, I love that sun on that particular flag as well. So to me, the new sun on Kazakhstan should work. But for me, it
Yeah,
doesn't. It almost seems like a step backwards, and that this is the superior, and they've come up with something that's
agreed.
sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Right. Moving on to Tajikistan, which is in the far corner. So I haven't actually put these completely up in the right order, so I apologize profoundly. Anyway, another tricolour, but slightly different, obviously, to Afghanistan. Made up of 3 colours: the red, which is a unity, and the victory, as well as sunshine, and links to the Soviet era specifically. So the red they're pulling off from their Soviet flag on this one, which also relates to the workers and the warriors who sacrificed themselves for the land. So that's the red element. The white is for purity, morality, and the snow-capped mountains, as well as cotton, which I assume is abundance in Tajikistan. And green is the bountiful generosity of nature in the country, the fertile land and the valleys, as well as Islam and Novruz, which is the Iranian or Persian New Year. But I will come back to that on a later flag, as I've only got one more after this. You could probably guess where that comes from. But anyway, spoilers. The crown on the flag, which is this lovely golden yellow, which obviously blends very nicely on the white is a Samanid dynasty. That's it. And the Tajik people is what it represents. And the seven stars over the crown is comes from a Persian mythology. So the stars represent perfection and happiness, but they also represent the seven mountains that are supposed to appear in heaven and the seven orchard gardens. And apparently above each of the seven mountains, there are seven stars, and that's where the seven stars come from on this particular flag. The design came into play on the 24th of November 1992, not long after its independence, obviously as it broke away from the Soviets, or as the Soviet empire slowly dissolved. And before this then, so in its sort of the last great Soviet flag that it had, so it had the same colors, obviously predominantly red, but with the green and white stripe on it. And so they basically, because they loved the Soviets so much, they've lifted the colors from this and made it into their current day flag and added this crown and star motif in the middle. And again, like most, but not all of these stand flags, they've pretty much stayed as it is since 1992.
If I had to rank the stand flags from, favorite to what are you thinking? Tajikistan is the one at the bottom, like, what are you thinking? And it's because of that yellow clip art on the white stripe.
You've said this before, haven't you? Yeah.
I have. It just, and I'm going to contradict myself with your next flag, but we'll get to that one when we get to it. But Tajikistan could be better. Like, I look at Hungary, which is basically that, but without the bling in the middle, and I think it's kind of boring.
Yes.
But then this bling is like a dollar store brooch. It's just, it does not work. I mean, make it a different color, make it something else other than, I don't know. It's ugly.
It's
Yeah, sorry.
it's harsh words. I mean, looking at the flag next to it, which I'll come to obviously later, you can definitely tell. I mean, obviously these are reproductions and nowhere near the real things. However, there is a notable difference between the two, and the sort of the golden sand color that they use does appear to be slightly better.
Mhm.
However, yellow on white in any respect is never going to be a good thing, especially when you've got behind you with your eagle, as the blue states that gold and yellow should not work so much better than a yellow and white. So I totally agree with you. Clip art, a little harsh, but I know exactly where you're coming from.
So part of the problem, though, with Tajikistan is that all of the elements all of the elements of that central design are so small. If it was, a big sun like you see with the other flag that you'll mention shortly, I think it would actually work because it would stand out and it would get your attention. But because those stars are small and the rest of the design is so small, it tends to blend in. And like, good luck looking at it from a distance. I should be fair. There are many flags that are worse than that. Many national flags, and certainly most of our state flags are absolutely worse by a factor of 50 than what Tajikistan has. But I think Tajikistan could do better. I'll put it that way.
And I agree, but I mean, I do happen to like it because of its simplicity. However, I totally agree that it's the wrong color on white. Even if they'd just gone for black, which I know is quite a morbid color on flags. However, it would have at least made that middle pop out completely. Then it would have been right in there, and even from a distance, you'd be able to tell there's a little black squiggly bit in the middle of that white ring. That must be Tajikistan. Whereas at the moment, as you said earlier, probably looks like Hungary from a distance. So,
Black is a morbid color on flags.
well,
I mean, I know black can have a death connotation, but yeah, look at the flags that have black. I mean, yes, we have Afghanistan over here, which could have some issues, but Germany,
yes,
Estonia, where the black absolutely, I think, is perfect in Estonia's
yes,
flag.
I
Um,
agree. Still a
Jamaica,
morbid color. Yeah, yes, Belgium,
it
and
works.
yeah, South Africa.
South Africa has black. Vanuatu, I think the black makes Vanuatu look very elegant. So it's all
Okay,
how
well,
you use it.
Well, this is okay. Well, that's what I'm trying to say. It would make this stand out far better,
It
would it
would.
not?
It
Well,
wouldn't be
there we go.
morbid, but it would make it stand out.
I'm just saying black's a morbid color. So,
An all black flag might be morbid,
yes, with white writing. Anyway, that's a whole
but
different
maybe better
flag.
than what Tajikistan has right now.
Anyway,
It is.
Tajikistan.
All right. So my last flag that I have over here is Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan was the first Central Asian country that was under the dominion of the Soviet Union to create its own flag. Uzbekistan's flag consists of three horizontal stripes of blue, white, and green, with two smaller red stripes or fimbriations around the white stripe. I really like the shade of blue on the Uzbekistan flag. It represents water as well as being the color of the Turkic people. The Turkic people is a collection of ethnic groups in Asia that total of approximately 150 million, 25 million of whom live in Uzbekistan. The white represents purity and peace, which it does on almost every flag. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a boring meaning, but it is what it is. The
Yes.
green for nature, as well as representing Islam, which is the religion practiced by 90% of the Uzbek populace. I get a kick out of this next one. So the red stripes that you see, the thin red stripes, are indicative of the life force inherent in all living organisms, which is, if you're a Star Wars geek like I am, it sounds like something Qui-Gon Jinn would have been lecturing young Anakin Skywalker until he got a lightsaber to the gut by Darth Maul, and there that ended that. So, and this also looks like the red stripe in the Uzbek flag.
You can have that. I'll let you have that one. Yes. Dubious, but you can have it.
Turn that off. So, much like the color green, the crescent moon is representative of Islam. The 12 stars represent the 12 districts in the country. And as soon as I read that, it just reminded me of Panem from the Hunger Games, since they had the 12 districts until we realized it was a District 13. It has a very dystopian sound to it to me because of that. But the more I read up on Uzbekistan, I think that's actually appropriate considering the human rights abuses that occur in Uzbekistan, including torture, random arrests, and severe crackdown on any modicum of free speech. So, hey, 12 districts, why not?
But apart from that,
But apart from that, it's actually a coolly designed flag. The colors shouldn't work, but the way they've designed it, it does.
so to me, the red jam lines in the middle, I think break it nicely. So you haven't
Yes.
got that green and white and the blue and white that doesn't quite. I think that it's
The,
it
the
tidies up.
Sierra Leone feeling that you would have.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. The other thing I like about the stars is the hidden word of Allah written in the stars.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up.
So anytime. Um, but so I think it's a genius flag, and I think out of all of them, this is probably the most genius of all flags, just because of the whole stars that are going on there, and what they represent and how they all work. It's a beautiful design, and again, it's unique. I think this one does stand out in its own right, and does everything it's supposed to do, and again, it's just the right side of busy for me to not fall into the whole oof from my side of it. It's a nice balancing act there on that one. Love it. And then you're right, the tones and the colours of the blue, and this again a slightly darker green that it's got as well makes it a bit more better than some of the others. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a beautiful flag. Love it. And I would put it. Well, I think we'll talk about where we'd rank some of
Yeah.
these at the end, but it would be quite up there for me,
Here's
definitely.
something really cool. So, I have a rather long commute to and from work, and oftentimes I will see the front license plate on a car that is another country's flag, because here in Pennsylvania, we only have to have a license plate on the back. There isn't one on the back and the front. And usually if I see a flag on the front of someone's car as a license plate, it's Italy, which everyone around here seems to have, some degree of Italian in them. Germany, occasionally the UK, sometimes Wales or Scotland as kind of a breakout. But a couple months ago, I saw Uzbekistan, and I thought that was kind of cool because it's probably one of the last flags I ever expected to see as a license plate on someone's car. I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool that
That's
someone's
amazing.
got an Uzbek flag. I don't know. I assume that they were part Uzbek, or maybe they just really like the flag. I don't know. But it was there, and it's pretty cool. And I'm sure they're the only person in Pennsylvania who has that on the front of their
Yes.
car.
And so why would you not then, if you can be that unique about it?
Exactly.
Actually, that's fantastic. No, I must admit, if I had any connection with that country, I'd be obviously apart from the human rights piece, I would yeah, definitely display that. I think that's quite, yeah, details. Cool, excellent. In that case, then we'll move on to our final flag, and is probably the odd one out of all of ours that we've got, is the Kurdistan flag, which is just above my right shoulder here. So it's very similar to the Tajikistan flag in its colors and layout, as you can see them side by side here. And it's almost done on purpose. However, so Kurdistan is obviously not a country like the other seven that we've been talking about. So it's a region of North Iraq, Iran, and then bits of Turkey, and then that region around there. I think Albania just dips into southern Albania, dips into northern Kurdistan region.
Yeah.
So it's a regional flag or a people's flag, obviously, as opposed to a national flag. But a flag it still is. And when you go to Erbil, which is their capital, which is in northern Iraq, which oddly enough is probably the safest part of Iraq to go and visit, you'll see this flag flying absolutely everywhere, and indeed in the other countries that seem to, I was about to say happily coexist, but it depends which country you're in, whether you're happily coexisting in there or not. Anyway, it was created by the Society for the Rise of Kurdistan in 1920, so it's one of the oldest, although it didn't look exactly like this, but the premise of it came back from 1920, so 100 years ago, give or take. And the premise has pretty much stayed the same, but it's the middle motif that has changed a little bit over the years. And it's all for the very different Kurdish states that have tried to exist and therefore try to be independent over the years. And they've at some point been the Republic of Ararat and the Republic of Mahabad and the Kingdom of Kurdistan. So it's tried to be a country in its own right. And this flag has tried to represent as best as it could. Originally designed, the reason that they designed it in the first place was to use it as part of the Kurdish state revolt, or revolt, should I say, against the British, oddly enough, back in May 1919. But a month later, the British quashed that revolt. And so almost every year, ever since the Kurds have been trying and get back their own land. And then obviously the Soviets took it over during the 40s until the 90s, and obviously became different parts of different countries back then. And then over the years, they've tried to exist as best they can. And I think now at the moment, well, obviously they don't have their own country, probably as at peace as they have been for over the past 100 years. So I think at the moment it's working, so nobody touch it. Let's just leave it as it is. It seems to be all right. Anyway, the colours are, the red again is the blood of the martyrs. It's like a lot of flags with red on it, and the struggle for freedom and that piece. That's what that's for. The green is the landscape and life, fertility. We've done all that as well. And the white is again peace and equality. It's the same sort of thing. And the yellow is for life and light. And the sun in the middle has 21 rays, and the 21 rays represents the 21st of March, which is, and I'm going back now to the New Roz or Now Res, depending on whereabouts you come from, which is the Persian New Year day. So it's always reflecting their new year. So they have massive celebrations on the 21st of March from a Gregorian perspective, but it always seems to stick on that. So that's why there's 21 rays on this particular sun, just to celebrate the new year each and every year. And that's our non-national flag of Kurdistan.
This is going to sound hypocritical after ripping on Tajikistan, but I actually love that flag.
Okay, right.
Again, if I would change one thing about it, it would be the shade of yellow that it uses. I would probably go to the darker one that Tajikistan has, or maybe even not toward orange, because that would be a little obnoxious, but just a little bit darker.
Yeah,
but
you've got to be careful
it
because
does still stand out a little bit because it's big.
yes, but it does bleed into the red and the green.
Yeah.
So you'd have to be careful whichever color you go for.
Yeah, which is why I would stick. I almost said make it more orange, but then I thought no, because that's going to be ugly. But the yellow works, but just make it a little bit darker.
And oddly enough, I was randomly in a medical center in our local town today, and the receptionist had an A4 on the wall of her side of the Kurdistan flag,
Nice.
which obviously had to mention. It's a nice Kurdistan flag. A bit like your Uber taxi driver, just bringing that full circle. It seemed quite random that out of all
Did
the
you tell her that?
flags in our local medical center, Kurdistan was sitting there flying proud on her wall.
Did you
So,
tell her that you like the flag?
well, it was a little busy, as all medical centres are in the UK, because there's not enough doctors to do anything with. So if you ever need anything from a medical profession, you're in and out as quickly as anything. So I didn't really have a chance to have a proper conversation about it, which is sad. But I was still getting very excited, going, we're talking about that later. A very flag. Yes. And weirdly enough, that's the first time I've seen it anywhere other than flying in Erbil in Kurdistan. It is, yeah, in our local medical center. Most random. Anyway, but going back to your point, yes, you're right. It's just the wrong shade of yellow for my liking. And it's too similar to Tajikistan for my liking. That's the only issue. One of them needs to be more different than the other, and at the moment they look like they're just trying to vie for the same trophy, and both failing for the same sort of reason. To be fair, yeah. But anyway, that's our final flag. But apart from that, I think it's if I had to choose out of the two of them, I think I probably would lean more to Kurdistan, but I would still wish it was probably the more sandy orange color than Tajikistan had. Anyway, so if we were going to rank these off the top of our heads, these 8, any ideas of what we would place at the bottom of these? Just interestingly enough, I know we didn't talk about this, but let's. I'm sure we've got opinions anyway.
The bottom for me is Tajikistan. That's not even a question.
Oh, okay. You
That's
see,
mine.
yes, you see, I'm close to that, or you see, Afghanistan for me is still, but yeah, I might have to agree with you on Tajikistan actually, just because it looks like its neighbor from where I'm sitting at the moment. It's not unique enough. So okay, I'll agree with you on Tajikistan. We'll put that in 8th place. Okay, 7th then. Where would we go for that? Would we go for Kurdistan on this?
No, I actually like that one. That's why I said
Okay.
I'm very hypocritical because I love Kurdistan, even though the color is a little off, but I don't like Tajikistan's. For me, I would probably say Turkmenistan.
Really?
It's not that I don't like it, but if I have to rank them, and again, I have a special affinity for this
I
flag.
get that. Yeah.
That's playing into it, and that's probably why Turkmenistan would be 7th for me.
Okay. Well, for me, I would go Afghanistan, but I get your very personal reasons for liking Afghanistan, which is fine. I get it. But
Yeah, but I'll put Afghanistan 6th.
okay. And I will put Turkmenistan 6. So,
Okay.
between the two of us, we're back on track now. Okay. So that's Afghanistan. And there's my Turkmenistan. So, okay. 5th then. Where would we go on 5th? See, for me, I think it would probably be Pakistan.
That's actually what I was going to say was Pakistan.
Good. It's
That's
very
funny.
scientific.
We
People.
never agree.
We know. No, hold on. There's still 4 more places. 4th then leads us to. Okay, so to me, Kurdistan's got to come in now because to me, the other 3 that are left aren't anywhere close to what Kurdistan is
And see,
for
for me,
me.
I'll go with Kazakhstan.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
Again, I
I
don't
was about,
dislike it, but
okay. I was about to say who am I to argue, but owner of the
you
channel. Anyway,
argue anyway. You argue.
oh look, I've written Kurdistan next to you when you said Kazakhstan. Okay. And I've written Kurdistan. Okay, so 3rd place then. I think I might have to go for the pure red for my 3rd place, especially if we were going for the current version, that's for sure. Go on then, what would be your 3rd then?
Uzbekistan.
Oh, really? Okay, right.
So these are your last.
2nd. Yeah, these are my last 2, yeah. You see, for me, I would put Uzbekistan 2nd, which gives me, go on then, Really?
Kurdistan second and Kyrgyzstan first.
Kurd and Kurg.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so good. Well, there we are. We've spoken. Our top four are pretty much agreed, but or should I say, the top 8 to 5 is mostly agreeable. Actually, no. To be fair, we only agreed on 3 of them. It's just a 3 out of 8.
Which is progress for us because we never agreed.
Yes, yes, this is true. I mean, they are busy flags, a lot of them, but there's something about them. And the other thing I like is that they're not unified in anything or in any way, which is good. A lot of them, not all of them, obviously have their backgrounds to the Soviet era as well. Coming out of that, I think half of them have got Soviet backgrounds, so it's good to see where they've come from. Although it's interesting though, with Tajikistan, they really hold on to their Soviet era. And which one of yours held on? Was it Uzbekistan? You said that harks back to some of its Soviet.
Kazakhstan, 2 of the 3 colors on its flag
Oh,
were
that was
from
it.
their flag, but you would never know it. I mean, if you didn't know that what their SSR flag looked like, you would never look at Kazakhstan and realize that they were a former Soviet. I don't want to say, they were conquered by the Soviets.
Well, it's yes,
Occupied by
say
the
it.
Soviets.
Yes, exactly. Okay, cool, lovely. Right. Well, thank you, Joe, for sharing your thoughts, opinions, and your rolling of your 4 stand flags. It's been much appreciated and a pleasure, as always, sharing the time with you. And I would say that I've probably got a video that I can link to that covers one of these flags of one of the countries that I visited. So go and check that out. And but until then, thanks very much from myself and Mr. B. And we'll see you next time. See you later. Bye-bye.
Take care.